Greetings viewers and welcome back. As you can tell, my Haruspex Exocrine is primed and ready for the next step of base coating. I'm trying something a little bit new here with the sound and video. First of all, you wouldn't really be able to hear me with the compressor on the airbrush running and the exhaust fan, and I've also got one of the painting respirators on, so it'd be really difficult for me to talk through what I'm doing and you actually be able to understand or hear me. So I'm trying it this way. We'll see how it works. Let me know what you guys think. As far as the base coating, I mentioned this in my airbrush video, and I think I showed you maybe base coating another model with it. I really like to use it because it's a lot quicker and it provides a lot easier thin, nice base coat on the models rather than ending up with chunks of paint somewhere because of the brush strokes or something weird going on. So it comes out really nice and I really like using it, and again, it's a lot quicker, especially for one of these larger models. The only issue that I end up having with it is I have to go over it several times, and even after I've done so, I pick it up to paint something else later on and I find a whole spot that I've missed. So you have to make sure that you get every angle. So you'll notice that I pick it up and spin it around and turn it over and move it all over the place because there's all kinds of little crevices on the belly area. There's parts behind the limbs that get missed just because of the stream of the air coming straight out. It doesn't necessarily get that, so you have to kind of turn it around and come at it from a different way just because of the direction of the spray that's coming out of the nozzle. So I just keep kind of turning around, flipping it over, making sure I get every area, and then even after I thought I was finished, I ended up having to re-go over a couple spots on the belly that I picked up to paint the next step, and I noticed that there was a lot of white spots, so had to take it back in there and spray it again just to make sure I got everything. So I'll go ahead and speed the video up, and then you guys can just watch me finish spraying it, and then once that's done, we'll move on to the next step. So the next step I'm going to demonstrate for you is painting the carapace. I'm doing it using the head for the Exocrine because, like I mentioned, I had issues with the body where it wasn't quite finished and I had to go back and spray it again, so it's now drying while I'm doing this. Still the same technique, going to do the same thing over the whole rest of the body. It'll just be on a larger scale and take me a lot longer, so this will be done a little bit quicker showing you on video. So whenever I do the carapace, typically what I do is I get a not necessarily a really fine tip like detail brush, but just something with a little bit more of a point on it than a big flat blunt brush or something, and I go around all the edges and try not to slop anything all over the brown of the base coat skin color. And granted, of course, I'm going to mess up and, twitch or move and mess something up and put some black paint on there, which isn't a big deal, but I try not to be too sloppy so I don't make too much work for myself later covering it up. And then all I do is I just go around the outline of the whole shell and on all the little limbs, the back, the legs, the arms, wherever they have spikes or something that I'm going to paint black. And I just go over all that just around the edges unless it's a very small piece and I can cover it up. And then what I'll do is go back later with a larger brush where I don't have to be quite as precise, and then I'll go ahead and just slop the paint on the areas that aren't covered yet. So typically like the back shell piece or something on the main model itself, we'll go ahead and get that, and I can just, again, I don't have to be careful with it because I've already gone over to the edges. I just need to stay out of that area so I don't get it all over everything else. And typically at this point, especially with the head, I would have already done the eye, which I completely forgot as I was just jumping into painting the next step. And the only reason for that is because right where the eye goes into the top of the head, it runs right into the carapace that I'm painting, and you'll see that. And it just makes, again, another less step for me later because I know I'm going to get green paint all over that, so now I'm going to have to go back with black later and cover it up. So I'll go ahead and speed this up and you can see the rest of it get painted. So for this next step, I'm using the Reaper Pale Green. I'm just trying something a little bit different and new. I'm actually just painting in those little lines in the skin where they're kind of ripples. It looks kind of, I guess, like the muscle tissue or something underneath that's showing through the base coat skin color. I haven't normally done that on my other models. I just kind of leave them brown and let the wash fill in and kind of just make it some texture in the skin. But again, I just wanted to try it out, see what it looks like. If I don't like it, I probably won't do it on any other models, and he'll be the only one in the high fleet that looks like that. Otherwise, if it comes out nice, I may go back and do some of my older models and then just kind of keep the new ones going in that same direction, just to kind of add a little bit of extra color in there, kind of break it up a little. I'm also painting the little hoses on the head that go into the gun, that same green color, and I'll again do some highlight colors over that just to make it stand out a little bit once the wash goes on and it's nearing the final stages of completion. So I'll go ahead and speed up the video and you guys can see the final result on that. So the next step is going to be pretty quick and easy. All I'm going to be doing is painting a bone color on the claws and the teeth, and the color I'm using for that is Reaper Stained Ivory. And I'm essentially going to be using the same technique as I did on the carapace. I'm just going to edge out the areas with the bone color all on the claws where it's buttoned up against the carapace, and then I just come back and use my bigger brush to go ahead and get the larger areas. The teeth were pretty easy because the mouth is closed and they're just all close together. It's not anything difficult about it. So I was just easily able to slop the stained ivory color in there all over the teeth, and again, it was just a pretty quick and easy step. So we'll just watch the fast motion on the rest of that. I don't think I showed the teeth on this one, but again, it was pretty simple. There's not a whole lot to it. So the next step I'm moving on to is I just want to make sure I touch up all the areas that I messed up on, and I've also went ahead and did the eyes. I didn't catch that on camera, but all I did was just kind of fill in the green and then just put another line over it. Nothing too fancy, but when I'm touching up the areas that I messed up, it's just where I've maybe slopped some of the black carapace paint on the brown skin or some of the brown paint on the carapace. When I do the touch-ups, I don't water down the paint at all. I just squirt it straight out of the bottle so it's nice and thick and it kind of covers a little bit easier. And then I just glob it on the brush and just kind of dab it over there until the black paint that's showing through the brown there is covered up. So I don't want a huge lump of paint. I just kind of smear it around and spread it out until it covers up that black. So I'm just going around the model, just showing you some of the areas that I messed up on, and then I'm just going to go hit those up real quick before we move on to the next step of washing them. So now that I've got all those areas touched up, we're ready to wash the model. I'm only doing the body and the Exocrine head right now, just because the Haruspex is going to take a little bit of work, and I'm kind of doing it in a different color order because certain things I know are not going to be able to be easily done before others, so I'm just going to have to do that separately, and I may just do another video showing you how I've painted that up. So for right now, I'm just going to do the Exocrine head and the body, and using that wash mixture that I created before for you in my wash making video. It's still going strong, still have plenty of it left, so I'm just trying to make good use of it. And I've got my Exocrine hung on a piece of fishing line just so that I'm not touching it or holding it, or if I stand it up, that the wash isn't getting kind of mushed on anything and messing anything up. So that way there's not a whole lot of contact, nothing really touching it while it's hanging there and drying. The only real issue that I end up running into is the gravity basically pulls all the pooled wash in one area, so as it's facing down like that, all the wash is going to run towards the front. So I just have to kind of go around with my wash brush a little bit once it's hanging there, and I kind of dab off a little bit of the excess that I know isn't going to drip, and it's going to kind of sit wherever it's pooling up. So this technique makes it go a lot quicker, much like airbrushing the base coat on there. Dunking it in the wash is a lot faster than trying to brush it on by hand on this big model, because I'll be there all day and take forever, whereas this, I can just dunk it in, let it dry, and while that's hanging there dripping, I can go ahead and move on to something else. So the final step of the model before it's complete is the two highlight colors on the carapace. The first color that I'm using is Reaper Leaf Green, and the second highlight color is Reaper Moth Green. I haven't quite mastered the feathering technique like you see on the box art, so pretty much I just use straight lines and just kind of follow the edges of the carapace sections, and I just again start with the leaf green, and then once that's dry I do the moth green. So I'm just going to do the first three major lines on the back of the main carapace section, since that'll be the easiest for me to show you on camera. And again, I'll just speed through it just so you can kind of see what it's going to look like, and then we'll go ahead and show you the final product. So the Exocrine variation of the model is complete. As you can see, all the highlighting is done on the claw sections, the main carapace, on the little leg plates, all that's finished. I've also tried to do a little bit of highlighting on the crushing claws there, just drawing a couple lines, making it lighter, seeing what it would look like. Just kind of make it look like it's been used and it's not just some dirty claws. So I hope that you guys like this video. Hope that the new style there with the voiceover of the video, if you guys like that, please let me know. If not, I can try something different. I'm just trying to, again, make everybody happy, which isn't quite always possible, but I try to do the best I can. If you guys have any suggestions, questions, comments, concerns, please let me know. Thanks for all the likes, the subscribers, and the positive feedback, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks.